What up, what up, what up, everybody? As you'll notice, there's a different type of setting right now. I'm gonna show you guys the studio, which is why we're not on the professional camera. So I'm gonna walk you around this whole place, and I'm gonna show you how everything's set up. So I'll show you this part, the Facebook Live. I'll show you that part over there. So I'm gonna show you guys the whole studio, the whole setup. That way, when you're building your brand, you can essentially create a similar setup. Well, similar if you want, but you can just create a setup and you can just make sure that you're filming, that everything you're filming is just really easy. So we're gonna talk about the whole studio setup. And like I said, I'm gonna show you guys around the way I have everything set up, the lights, the cameras. We'll talk about the equipment that I'm using, all sorts of stuff in terms of just building the brand. When I was actually working on the studio setup, I wanted it to be really simple, just really simple. Even though you see a ton of stuff, I want it to be insanely simple in terms of how I film, what I film, the thumbnails, all sorts of stuff. So maybe we'll start over there. Well, that's the main spot that I go over in terms of just filming videos, and then this is the Facebook Live spot. This is where I do all the live videos. What up, Paul? So this is where I do all the live videos over there. So I'm gonna show you guys, let me walk around real quick. In fact, let's start over here. This is the photo room over here. So here we go. That's the photo room over here. I got the ring light. We got the black background right there. So this is just a simple photo room that I have set up. That'd be used for thumbnails. It's used for any type of photos that we obviously want to take. And then obviously I got the two different setups over here, this black background right here, and then this white background here. So that way I have different effects when it comes to like creating the thumbnails and the different types of photos that I want to create, right? What up, Alex? Cool, so that's essentially, and then obviously just the high rise, I can go outside if I want. But let me actually show you, let's start with the Facebook Live setup real quick. So the Facebook Live setup is pretty simple. I start with this camera here. This is the Canon XF400 camera. And so this camera, it's simply connected to this thingamajigger over here called like a capture card. Apparently you need that thing to go live on a professional camera. So you essentially just get a capture card, good to go with that. This Canon camera, the reason why I use that over something like a really good DSLR one is just because inside of this high rise, like you'll notice that I'm backlit right now. So especially if I do this, like notice how I'm backlit, you can see the background, but you can't really see me. So that camera over there, it helped a lot with that. So I have the lights set up, and then that camera, because the sensor's so big, it lets in all this light, so it lights me up a lot better than most cameras. So that's why I chose that camera. And then also because it records longer than 30 minutes. So most DSLR cameras, like the one I'm gonna show you over here in just a second, like this one here, most DSLR cameras, no matter how good they are, they can only record for 30 minutes, like 29 minutes and something, right? So they can only record for a little bit. And so if I'm using that camera over there, and let's say I'm recording the podcast, I can record a podcast for 45 minutes, however long I want, versus the DSLR behind me, I can't really do that. So that's why I chose that camera over there. What up, Reggie? What up, David? So that's that whole thing. I do want to point this out, right? So everything that I do is about making stuff really efficient. So that's why I use these tripods. These are the Coleman monopod. Well, this is the monopod. That one's a tripod, and the one over there is a tripod. I use these for a very simple reason. So let me show you this, all right? So basically, I didn't want to have to take any one of these cameras and unscrew the thing. So normally it's like this, right? So you have the camera's on top of this, you got to screw the camera on there, and then if you want to take the camera off, you got to unscrew it, take it off, and then you're good to go. I don't want to do any of that, right? Especially if I'm switching between tripods. So what I did is I got these ones, and then all you got to do is you just like press a button, you slide it off, and then you slide this one back on, it's really simple. Let me show you real quick. So it's like, simply slide that off. I would slide it onto this thing, and I'm good to go, right? So let me slide this back on. But that's what I do with the tripods. And like I said, I'm focusing on making things insanely efficient. So that's just a very simple tip with the tripod right there. What's up, Maggie? So I make sure I do that. When it comes to the lighting setup, the lighting, let me show you this. So I make sure I have a remote for the lights. So that way I can just press it. Oh, I guess there we go. So I just press it on and off, bam. I can dim it, I can increase the lights, do whatever I want in terms of dimming, increase, and turn it off, however I like. So that's what I like about these lights. And then, of course, I have this light over here. So the camera setup, if you see this, let me show you from here. There we go. So the camera setup, there's one camera in front of me, one to the left, the lighting setup. There's one light in front of me, one to the left of me, one to the right side of me. And that's only because I'm here in the high rise. It's just because I'm insanely backlit if I don't have a lot of lighting on me, right? These two lights that I'm using, so these two lights here, they're really, really good. In fact, if you just get one of these lights, you will have some of the best lights ever, right? These lights are really, really good. The problem, as I said, is that I'm in the high rise, so I'm insanely backlit, so that's what I had to do. And then also, if you have windows, like I got the windows in the back, right? The light is gonna reflect in the windows. So let me see if I can catch one of these reflections real quick. There we go. So you see that right there? The light, it reflects in the window. So let me move, where was it? It was there. There, no, there we go. You can see the reflections. So it reflected in the window, but I was trying to figure out how to get that out of the window. So essentially I had to position the lights just right. When it comes to the Facebook Lives, here's essentially what I do. So I wake up in the morning, and first I know exactly what I'm going to talk about on the Facebook Live, so I create a thumbnail out of it. I say, well, what exactly do I want with the thumbnail? So I shoot a picture, take a picture real quick, usually with my iPhone. I take a picture with the iPhone. At that point, I edit the picture, then I have the thumbnail ready to go. So by the time I'm done with the Facebook Live, I just upload the thumbnail and I'm ready to go, right? So that's how I do it with that. With the Facebook Live, you just figure out exactly what you're gonna talk about. You talk about it, you're good to go, right? So that's what I do with the Facebook Live. It's really simple, the whole setup over there. Now let me show you the setup that I have for the regular videos. So the regular videos uses this camera here. This is the Sony A7 III or something like that. Actually, no, that's what it is. So this is the Sony A7 III. This camera is actually really, really good in terms of the quality of the image. The problem, I'm not gonna lie, the problem with this Sony camera, and I didn't know this, is that it has a green tint. So it's like the Matrix. For any of you guys who've seen the Matrix, there's like that green tint in the movie. That's kind of what this camera has. And so I think my video guy, he'll be able to figure out how to take it out. But that's essentially this camera. So the camera, it uses this microphone called the Rode NTG Plus, Rode NTG 4 Plus. That's what this shotgun mic is. Then I have to have this monitor thing. So this monitor, it just shows me what the camera sees. Just because with most DSLRs, it has that flip out screen, but this one doesn't. So I have to buy this monitor so I can see exactly, I can see myself inside of there. So there we go. So I got that. This is the setup with this. And I want to point out once again how easy this setup is. So you see like all these, you see all these cords in here. So this cord, it's connected to the monitor, and then this cord here is connected to this mic. But I thought to myself, I want to be able to take that camera off the tripod really easy, take some photos with it if I want for the thumbnails. I just want to do it really easy. I don't want to have to unscrew anything. So that's why I chose the tripods, and that's why I got rid of this thing. So this thing here, it allows for an XLR type of mic. So if you're going to get a professional mic like this, so if you're going to get a professional mic like this, you have to connect it. Well, if you want to connect that to your DSLR camera, you need something like this. This, you just plug it in the back. You plug the cord right there in the back, and then bam, you have a professional sounding microphone, right? The problem, once again, is that with this, I had to screw on the camera. So the camera would sit on top of this, right? I had to screw it on there. So I couldn't just slide this off and then take pictures and all that stuff. I had to unscrew the thing. So I figured, you know what, forget it. So what I did is I simply bought some cords, and I simply just changed it out with this cord here. All that's just details, small details. But I just want to point out how I want to point out that you need to just be insanely efficient with everything that you're doing, because I'm not trying to be a professional videographer. I'm not trying to be a professional photographer. What I'm doing is I'm building a business, and I'm building a business around a brand. And so the more time I spend filming, the more time I spend taking photos, that's less time spent towards actually generating revenue. And so that's why I want to spend as little time as possible actually filming something and actually taking photos and all that sort of stuff. Spend as little time on that, spend more time creating ads, more time creating offers, and just spend more time doing those things. So that's why I focused on being insanely efficient. Now, let's talk about, let's say your iPhone, right? So maybe you don't have all of this, all this equipment, right? In the beginning, I didn't have all the equipment either. I just used my iPhone. So all you want to really do is buy one of these. This is just a gimbal. It costs a couple $100. This one is like the Smooth Mobile gimbal, because it's like a selfie stick one too. So it extends like that. But you definitely want to get yourself a gimbal if you're going to be using your phone, just because it reduces that shake as you're walking. So definitely get one of those. I simply use that. Whenever you see me creating a video where I'm walking, I'm always using that thing. Like, very rarely is it me just holding it. If I am holding it, I'll have something like this. This is what I used at first. This is like $30 or something like that. But once again, I just make things insanely simple when it comes to the actual studio setup. The workflow is really simple. So the workflow is, the video, the camera is set up right where this camera is set up, right? Except it's not my iPhone, it's the professional camera. So I set it up here. I start talking about whatever I want to talk about. Hey, blah, 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 you got to do some marketing, blah, 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 right? I start talking, go on for 5, 6, 7 minutes, however long I go on for. I do it all in one take. And the reason why I do it in one take is just because, once again, I don't want the editing process to take a while. I don't want anything to take a while. I just want it to be really simple, right? So I do it in one take. As soon as I'm done with the one take, I take the camera, I walk over here, come over here to my spot, and then I sit down and I simply just rewatch the film, right? So I just go in and I rewatch the film. Now, as I'm rewatching the film, I'm over here on the computer taking notes, and I'm taking notes in terms of the B-roll footage, right? So the B-roll, if I'm sitting there and I'm talking about lighting, right? So I'm saying, all right, I'm going to show you how I do my lighting inside the studio, blah, 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 right? And I'm talking about lighting. Well, I'm thinking to myself, well, what kind of B-roll footage can I get for the lighting? So, okay, I need footage of the lights up close. So I type in, get footage of lights up close. Oh, I need footage of me jumping up and down, because I talk about jumping up and down. So let me get some footage of me jumping up and down. And I start typing all that inside of a list, just on the notes on the computer. And the reason for that is because I used to think I could memorize everything I was talking about. And what happens is, as you're talking, you don't really remember everything that you're saying. So when you go back and you want to get B-roll footage, unless you have a list of stuff, you're going to forget a lot of stuff. And so that's what I didn't want to do. And any videographer will tell you that the more footage they have, the better. So you want to give them a ton of B-roll footage. Instead of just like 4 or 5 different shots, you want to give them like 20 different B-roll footage styles that they can use for your videos. So it's better to do that. So that's essentially the workflow. Once I get the B-roll footage, then we simply, I shoot the B-roll. At that point, just upload it and I send it to the video guy, right? So I'm just like, do your work, do your thing, just make it look like magic. So that's really the process in terms of how the studio's set up and everything like that. Let's see. Oh, and then over here, actually, you see this. So this is the iPad right here. The iPad, that's where I read all the comments. So essentially when I do the Facebook Live, I'm looking at the iPad over to the right side of me, and I'm doing the Facebook Live and I'm looking at the comments on there. That way I can just answer any questions that anyone has, obviously. So let's see. All right, yeah. I think we are good to go in terms of the whole setup, actually. That was a lot faster than I thought. So any questions about the setup, about the studio setup? I do want to point out that if you're building your brand, then you really do want to focus on not really like the equipment or anything like that. You simply want to focus on how you're creating the content, and more importantly, how you're promoting the content. So like, remember yesterday? I think it was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. Yesterday where I talked about the best way to build your audience, and it's not creating content. The best way to build your audience is to spend money on ads. That's the best way to do it. So many people are focused on, let me create content, let me create a podcast, a video or whatever, a Facebook Live or whatever. It has nothing to do with that. You simply just build your email list, and then you just promote to your email list. Content is just a cherry on top of your business. It's just the dessert. That's all it is. It's the sizzle. It's not the steak, right? So that's essentially what you really want to focus on. It's one of the reasons why so many people, you'll look at their social media profile or whatever, and you can't tell how much money they make based on that, because the way they make their money is by focusing on, I'm spending money on ads, and then I'm making an offer, and that's it. And then the content, like I said, is just a cherry on top. It's just one of those things that you can do, but it's not necessary. All right, so that's the studio setup. So let me show you guys the different angles, so get out the way. But there we go, you can see that in terms of the setup, the lighting and the desk and all that. That's where I do all the Facebook Lives. And then over here, this is where I do the introductions for my videos over there. I'll take pictures there, take pictures there, take pictures in the other room. And remember, in the morning time, I'm always creating my thumbnail before I actually do the Facebook Live. That way, when I'm done with the Facebook Live, I can just instantly throw up that thumbnail, and I can just get to work for the rest of the day. Any other final questions before we are done for today? I'll wait a few seconds. Let me see if there was anything else I wanted to talk about. Got that. Then I'm good to go. And then I also got some stuff for later on at nighttime as well. So I got these thingamajiggers right here. They're spread out throughout the place. So that way I can be like this. Look, watch this. Alexa, turn on the living room lights. Bam! Look at that. Oh, snaps. Look at that. Look at those lights. Alexa, turn off the living room lights. Bam! Look at that. Oh man, that's the future. All right, let's see. Did you buy your equipment all at once, or build up to it as your budget allowed? I just built up to it, right? So let me show you guys what I had in the beginning. So in the beginning, it was this black background right here, this ring light right here, and, well, not this phone, but an iPhone. It was like an iPhone 7 that I was using. Eventually, what would happen is, as I'm using this ring light, it would just shine on me like really bright. And so the iPhone, it would just like overexpose, and I'd just be like all white, right? So one day I just got pissed off. I was like, you know what, forget it. And then I bought this camera here. So that's a Canon camera. Then I started using the Canon with that background. I used it for the longest time, right? Then I moved in here, and I was gonna use the same stuff, to be honest, but I realized I was backlit. Like you see, I was like this. You could see the background, but you couldn't see me. It was just all dark, even with that lighting. So then I bought these lights. This light here. I bought this light, just one of them. I bought another light, and then I realized, oh no, I gotta buy another one. So I bought another one, and I just bought everything over time. The equipment, all you gotta think of with the equipment is, what's the best equipment I can afford right now? That's all you wanna think about. It's not about getting this Sony a7 III camera or the Canon XF 400. It's not about doing any of that. You just use whatever you have right now and then go from there. So like if I were starting over, I would literally I would just get one of these, a gimbal for the phone, and then I just use a phone because most phones, they have great cameras right now. So that's what I would do in the beginning. Then as soon as your business starts making money, you take that money and you put it back into the equipment of your business. So even though I could afford to buy all this equipment in the beginning, I didn't. I simply said, I'm only gonna buy the equipment after the business makes money. I'm simply gonna reinvest the money into the business instead of me just spending money on this thing, right? So that's what I did with all the equipment. It was built up over time. So let's see, a glare on your glasses. The glare on the glasses, with that, the lights are really just higher up, right? So you can kind of get rid of the glare as long as the lights are high up. So notice these lights. So it's like these lights are taller than me right now. And when I'm sitting down, so I'm sitting down right there. So I'm sitting down and the lights are just going, it's like this, right? So the glare is going to happen if it's straight on. But when it's like this, then there's the glare is almost non-existent, right? So that's kind of how I get rid of the glare in the glasses. That's one of the things where you're just going to have to test that out based on your lighting situation. And also, you got to remember, like, you got to ask yourself, how big of a deal is it? So if it is like a big deal, let's say you're doing a Facebook Live, maybe you should just do a Facebook Live outside or something like that. So you always want to think, you always want to think in terms of like, how important is this thing? The most important thing of your brand is to focus on generating the revenue. So small things like the glare in the glasses or the glare in the window that I had, those are the last things that I tend to think about. It's like even the glare in the window. I knew there was a glare. I saw the glare. I was just like, I didn't care. Like for the longest time, I just didn't care. I was like, oh, well, I don't care. There's a glare. I'm focused on generating revenue. And then finally, I decided to fix it in terms of the lighting setup. So it's just one of those things where you got to say, okay, sure, there's a glare or sure, there's this or whatever, but I'll deal with it. Well, I'll do it now. And then later on, I'll fix it as I generate more revenue in the business. You just got to stay focused on generating the revenue in the business. So many people, they're just so focused on creating content that they tend to forget the purpose of a business. So never, ever, ever forget the purpose of your business. All right, so today I guess we are good to go in terms of the whole setup. So this is the whole setup once again in terms of all this stuff here. So that's the whole setup. The workflow that I have is really easy. It's really simple. Most of the stuff I'm using remotes to turn stuff on, to turn the cameras on, to hit record, to turn the lights on. I'm using remotes. That way I don't have to get up and walk around. With the tripods, they're all the same tripods, so I don't have to unscrew anything. None of that sort of stuff. It's just very simple, sweet, to the point. When I create the thumbnails, I create the thumbnails in the morning for the Facebook Live. That way, as soon as the Facebook Live is done, I can just upload the thumbnail instantly. I don't have to spend an hour or however long it's going to take to make a thumbnail for the rest of the day. Don't have to do any of that stuff. Yeah, and that's it. I mean, we're good to go in terms of the whole studio. And then, like, once again, when it comes to the thumbnails as well, I'm literally just thinking in terms of, like, how can I create better thumbnails? And that's why, like, I'm naturally throughout the day, I'll just start taking random photos, and I'll just put a camera somewhere. I'll be like, all right, let me take a photo like this. Let's put it on the ground, put it up high, and I'll just start taking photos and just playing around with stuff in terms of the thumbnail. So that's the entire YouTube video setup, or the entire video setup that I have in here. Pretty simple, sweet, short, to the point. And I will see you guys tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific time. So take care, everybody.